Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Weighing In, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. I am in Marietta, Georgia, which we will get to why. Literally just got to the hotel, hooked up the Wi-Fi, and connected with my good friend Mark Ostrander. Marco, college season is here, brother. It's time. Like this is our wheelhouse. This is what we love.
Yeah. You got a big weekend planned, don't you?
Big weekend last weekend, big weekend this weekend. You and I talked off the air. Ton of traveling for wrestling for me between now and the end of the year. So lots of fun things. So last weekend I was at the Mizzou Invite. This week I'm at the Life University Open. Last year Grandview was here. Yep. This year Life went to the Grandview Open, and Grandview is wrestling Iowa State at Humboldt this weekend, which we'll talk about as well.
Yep.
But there's, I'm doing that. Then I'm doing a couple of high school duels. I'm also doing the Little Rock duel, and then the National Wrestling Hall of Fame Dual Meet Classic. I'm the tournament director, and I'm doing the play-by-play for the second day of that. So,
how was the Missouri Open, David, with Keck being your sidekick as a commentary?
So let's talk about that part first. When we got there, we had talked to Flo, and they said, "Hey, you guys are welcome to announce." Jason actually asked me if we could announce, so I called Flo, and they were kind enough to say yes. And Jason specifically requested the mat that his son was on. Like, he was right on deck on 2. And I don't have kids, so I didn't know if he was going to intentionally pick a different mat and then not commentate and just watch, or if he was going to there's a bunch of ways that could have gone, right?
Yep.
And he got to do 4 of the 5 matches. Kale made the semis and then finished up 6th. And it's pretty good showing for literally a true freshman. And
Yep.
Kale's a young one like myself. I didn't turn 18 until after he graduated high school. I was with Jason that night. We watched the UFC together, and he was like, it meant a lot to me to get to call my son's matches, and to call them with you was really fun. And, it's about as good as it gets. I think Jason did a great job of being a good commentator and being a great father. And,
you did a nice job. Both of you did a good job. I was able to listen to, I watched your mat for a while and saw some pretty good matches. I got to see Demas wrestle. You guys were talking about his gas tank. I think I had texted you. I don't know how you get tired, because he didn't do a lot of shots and just kind of controlled the center of the mat. So maybe that's his new philosophy. He will not get tired because he's not going to exert himself too much out there. So,
well, he's also at 49. And
Yep.
after one of the matches, he came over to the corner. So we were there's the head table, the scoreboard, and then we're off to the left.
Yep.
And we are I'm on the left side of the left. And if you swing, I could probably take 2 steps, and I'm not very tall. And touch the coach in the green corner.
Yeah.
And that's what Polly was. And he said to Chewy, he said something about going down to 41. So I'm sure he started, we didn't commentate the final, but, Mahler put a good ride on him. And I think that's where he's going to struggle, is he's not tall and he doesn't ride. But probably the Jackson Smith Bronigal semi, where Jackson Smith hit like a slide by to a takedown to when he stood and lifted and dumped him on his head and pinned him. That was probably one of the highlight matches of the non-finals. Missouri looks really good, but what's funny is they probably fell back in the rankings based on how it went, because Certain got upset by Lorenzo. 33, they did what they were supposed to do. 41, they didn't wrestle, so it didn't affect them. 49, 57, 65, they won. 74, Mako lost to Edmund Ruth, so that pulls him down a couple spots. He might stay in that 9 through 12 range. Even if he drops down to 13 through 16, it's a half a point. At 84, they have an interesting conundrum, because Colton Hawks barely beat Clayton Whiting on our mat in the semis. They're both Mizzou guys. And then Colton Hawks beat Sean Harmon in the finals, who was the guy ranked.
Yep.
So they'll probably put Hawks in, and he may fall out a little bit because he may not have as much criteria. Rocky didn't wrestle, Zach won. Now they have a big test. We are recording this at 5:00 Central Time on Thursday night because of my travel schedule. And we should mention GT is in New York at the Bill Farrell at the New York Athletic Clubs. That's why he's not with us this week, but clearly in the mix. And then we'll come back home for the Grandview Iowa State duel. So lots of stuff. The Missouri-Arizona State duel is 7:00 Pacific time, which I don't even know with the daylight savings time if it's 9 or 10 o'clock my time out here. I'm going to figure it out and try to figure out if there's a pay-per-view version of the Pac-12 network.
Is that tonight? Is that tonight, David?
Tonight.
Okay.
All right. Well, maybe we'll get to preview that. We can certainly talk about it. So, but yeah, so there was the tournament was run really well. There's a lot of Missouri fans in Kansas City. I think, I have a lot of friends in Kansas City. Like it's, St. Louis and Kansas City are not like rival towns. Or, like I got to do some jiu-jitsu on Sunday. Shout out to Mandy Vargas, Angelina's mom, who let us train at Gracie Umada, and those guys there. They let one of the guys that I'm coaching in the Worlds get some scrapping in, and he got to watch a lot of wrestling. And we went to dinner that night. He's like, Coach, the hand fight in college wrestling is real. I was like, if you learned that, then you learned what you needed to today. Yeah. Like it's not the flashy stuff. It's just I told these guys before, I go, if they fight inside 5 times, you have to fight in the 6th time. Because when you stop inside fighting is when you get taken down. That's what they do. I mean, you coach that way. You're from Iowa. That's their style. A lot of high school kids growing up. So it was good. But you know how a coach tells somebody that and like, yeah. And then they see it and they're like, holy cripes. Like, you're exactly right. Like this is it. And the picture's worth 1,000 words. Like he was literally sitting next to us and I just like bump him and he's like, so it was fun. It was really fun. Tournament was run really well. Keenan Haggerty, Mike's Haggerty's son, is the new director of ops. So he had things going. The people at Staley are really good people. That's like perennial top 4 team in the state in big schools here in Missouri, which is class 4. And they're right next to Park Hill and they're right next to Liberty, and Liberty for some reason is not in the national rankings right now, but will be after the Donnybrook tournament. And
isn't that where the Elams graduated from high school?
Yes, that's what I was going to get to. Yeah, so Rocky and Zach are from there. Yeah. So they're kind of legends up there. So it was a good crowd. I guess maybe 1,000 to 1,500. So it was on schedule. There's an interesting dilemma. We'll have to talk about it, but do you start the finals when everything's done, but the finals, or do you hold it to a specific time so that fans can watch it? And if, like for us announcing, we're like, hey, run the finals. And they're like, we sold everybody 5:30. And as a person that runs events, I'm like, I completely get it, so.
Sure.
So we actually watched the 10 finals on Flow and DoorDash and barbecue. So that was a nice thing. And then by the time that was done, the UFC prelims were on. So, yeah. So it was good. So, yeah, I'm here in Marietta. Life's got the number 2 team in NAI behind Grandview. Quentin Haynes, who used to wrestle for me, is an assistant coach here, literally just dropped me off. And so their events are on Flow again for the first time this year. So we're going to do a dry run tomorrow, make sure like everything's working, and then go from there. Good. So anyway, the World Cup rosters came out, and the Bill Farrell is this weekend. So the Bill Farrell is something, by the time this podcast goes up, I don't even know if Gary will have time to put us up by Friday or not. It might be over by the time, but go to USA Wrestling or themat.com, pretty much go, Win, Intermat, Flow. Everybody's got the rosters of who are going to be there. So I heard the numbers are down a little bit, but it's a historical tournament. Bill Farrell is a huge part of our wrestling history, and the NYIC is kind of a bucket list place to go to watch a wrestling meet. So, and then the other thing to talk about is the World Cup teams, but I don't want to talk about that till we get Grant. I think everybody's seen the American rosters, and I want to do a deeper dive on that. Next week's obviously Thanksgiving. We'll probably record on Monday or Tuesday. And maybe we'll talk a little bit about the All-Star meet, although that's had a bunch of
changes,
substitutions and changes as well. So But let's talk about the rankings. I mean, I'm excited to talk about the rankings. So as we talked about last week, Mark, our buddy over at fantasygrade.com has done some really cool things here. So first of all, look what he did. There's our podcast. So that's kind of spiffy.
Yeah.
Yep. And then got our names up there, which I like. So what he did, so we know Christian, Mark, full disclosure, like he put up here like the trend. So for example, like Lorenzo moves up because of his win over Certain. So he goes all the way up to 12 from 32. So it's easy. He needed the green with the jumpers and the reds were the fallers. So Caleb Smith lost, he fell. Liam Cronin lost, he fell. And what's great about this is, I've also got a side-by-side here where I can click over and I can pull this up. I can share this screen instead. And here's the rankings at 25. So are you still looking at the let me see which one you're looking at here.
I'm still looking at the weekly trends.
The trends. So yeah, so if I stop presenting and then I go over here and I go to the other one. Yeah, so here's 25, okay? So this is where you can sort of see it, the entire weight, okay?
Yep.
So the main thing to look at is really no change in the top 12. Certain dropped a spot. So Lorenzo moves way up. Lorenzo definitely needs to be in the win rankings next week. So I'm not really quite sure why he's not. But and then like if you look at Jarrett Lane, he's in the win rankings where the other two sources have Carter Bailey and down there a little bit lower. So that's probably the last thing to kind of scoop up on this, is to kind of learn how to combine those guys. But not a lot of movement at the top here at 125, okay? So if we go to 33, so a couple things to talk about here. Number one is Vito's going to wrestle Taylor Lamont this weekend, right, Mark?
Yep.
What do you think about that?
Oh, I think Taylor's probably going to have his hands full. Vito can score in so many different ways. He's not going to get tossed on his head more than likely. I would say it's probably going to be maybe a 5-point match for Vito. That's kind of what I'm guessing.
You and I have done a few of these point spreads over the years, so you're usually very, very good at that. So probably the biggest news was Sam at this weight class was Sam Latona beating Mendez, and Mendez had beat Bird the week before.
Yep.
And so it's super interesting. Like basically Bird just didn't get punished for the loss, and it's basically a body of work issue, right?
Yep.
How would you have done it?
Bird won the Missouri tournament and looked okay. I think, this early in the year, David, these kids are making weight for the first time in, 9 months. And, they got to get back in the swing of things. It's not easy to cut weight and then go out there an hour later and perform to the best of your ability, especially early in the year. You've got to get in a rhythm. And I think that's kind of why we're seeing so many upsets early in the year. There were a ton of upsets last week, and I'm sure we'll probably get into that through this. And you don't always see the movement in the rankings. And I'm not really sure why, because this early in the year, if somebody's undefeated and they beat a kid that was ranked top 3 in the country, my opinion is move them up there until somebody knocks him off. Like, Mendez got beat. He dropped from 4th or 5th down to 12th now. So, it's
so. But here's an interesting thing. I think Latona lost or before.
He did early in the year, first match.
So see, here's the other thing. Like if you click on Latona, like this is the trend, which is kind of cool, right?
Yep.
So, so here's the thing. This is the conversation we always have, but it probably bears repeating. So let's say you're beating me by 14 points, and I reach back and I defensive pin you. I'm 1-0, you're 0-1. You're clearly better than me, right?
Yep.
But if we went to the seeding meeting tomorrow, I would have the number 1 seed.
Correct.
Now, if 10 matches later, you're 9-1 and I'm 5-5, and you've beaten 3 guys that I've lost to, now that reach back defensive pin or, whatever doesn't carry as much weight, and so that's what happens is you build, it's kind of this whole moving thing. Like right now, last year's body of work has a much bigger impact. Like by December, January, last year's body of work has much less impact than this year's body of work.
Agreed, 100%.
So, but you and I would always say this on our podcast, we're doing our rankings. It's an art. It's not a science, right, Mark?
Yep.
So, sometimes you have to put a number next to somebody. And sometimes it's like, okay, like I feel really good that Aaron Brooks, or like I feel very good that RBY is number 1, right?
Yes.
But maybe I'm not sure who's 23rd versus 25th. Flo's kind of figured out a smart way around it. They put all 8 of those guys as honorable mention, which is smart, right? Like, tell people why you're laughing.
It's just, we had to do 33 the last few years we did the rankings, and it was hard when you were getting down there at 28, 29, 30, 31. It is. So what Flo did is they just put them all together, honorable mention, and, they're all the same basically. So, yeah, it's kind of, it's interesting.
The guys that took last week were so Zach Redding got pinned by the Cal Bap guy.
Yep.
And then
Teskey beat the Cal Bap guy.
Yep. And then Kairini took a loss. Julian Melendez took a loss. Wyatt Henson took a loss. So I feel like the top, like I think Rayvon Foley on up, that top 9 feel pretty salty to me. Do you feel like there's a lot of openings there? Or do you kind of feel the same way I do?
I think it's pretty solid. It's a tough way. It's going to be a tough way to get in the top 8 if you're not already there, because there's really good guys there. But I still think there's a few guys. If I told you Jesse Mendez was going to be an All-American, you wouldn't be shocked. You wouldn't fall off your chair. I think he's very, very talented. If Brody Teskey, was in the top 8, it wouldn't shock me to death. So there are some places there that I think, some of these guys a little bit lower are going to have a good shot at making the championship. Just like Grant says, if you get beat early in this thing at the national tournament, you're not sure who you're going to run into. And if somebody else got beat that was really good, got upset, he's going to knock somebody out that should have been an All-American. So
when the seeds don't hold on the front, there's chaos on the back. That's probably the cleanest way to say it, right?
Yep.
So you've got a lot of All-Americans here: RBY, Fix, Vito, McGee, Bird, Cannon, Filipino, Foley have all AA'd before. So, then you got like a Big Ten champ like Teskey and an ACC champ like Latona. So this is a super interesting weight class. And so we'll jump to 41. And I'm going to go over to the trending one. So Phileas is the big dropper. Not a lot of change here really in the top 15 at all. We scroll down here. So they've got Demas ranked at 41. I think that's probably the most interesting thing, right?
Yeah. They've already decided that's where he's going to end up. So, yeah.
Well, they can't, but they should rank him at 49.
Agreed, but they're probably have already heard from the coaching staff, because I'm sure they do their work. They've already been told that his plan is to go down to 41, so that's why they're moving him in there. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So
Alan Hart didn't wrestle this weekend. He made weight apparently and then got sick and didn't wrestle. So that kind of goofed up the bracket, because like the 4 seed kind of made the finals out of there. Cal Miller actually won the tournament. He's a Park Hill kid, which is where Keck is from. He won in the finals against the Little Rock kid. So, but he's going to wrestle Vasquez from Arizona State, who's down at 24. but I feel like that match is closer. You and me were talking about this. How do you see this match going?
I think, are we talking about Hart wrestling?
Yeah, Hart and Vasquez.
I would have to give the advantage to Hart right now. I think he's a little bit better on top. Vasquez has already lost this year once. So I would probably give it to Hart, but Hart hasn't been on the mat either. So, I mean, anything can happen, David, your first time out. You
Right.
never know.
Well, I think what all of us kind of want, like, it's just almost like fantasy football, right? Like, you just want, like, your quarterback to have 275 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 20 yards rushing, right? And they might average that, but it never actually hit that in any particular week. And even more so when you're talking about 18 to 24-year-old young men. So, all right, 49. The biggest, probably the biggest upset of the week was Caleb Henson, right?
Yeah. What a match.
Beat Sammy Sasso in overtime. Sort of the other, Shane Van Ness moves up, Graham Rooks moves up, Manzona Bryant moves down. Let's make sure we talk about that Lehigh Oklahoma State match here. Kamara moves down and Hagan moves down. So as we look at the top 8 here, so Jonathan Milner, and this is interesting. He's ranked 225. Gomez is ranked 344. Sasso's ranked 453. Mahler's 285. I have a problem with Mahler at 8. Because if you look through, they have ahead of him, like Murin's never AA'd, right?
Not yet. Nope.
Okay, you're an Iowa guy. Justify Murin over Mahler to me.
You can't right now. You can't. I think Flo has Muller at 2. I think that's a little bit high right now. But if you think about it, he hasn't lost. He's won a tournament. Hasn't been upset by a freshman. Milner placed last year. Kind of the first time he's, able to do something.
I'm okay with Milner too, right? Like, because Gomez lost, Sasso lost, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like Mahler, I think there's an argument for Mahler. I mean, that he's averages at 5, okay? Like, I feel like, okay, that's sort of fine. I mean, because the last time he was in a bracket with Sasso placed higher than him. That was the year Sasso lost to O'Connor in the finals.
Yep.
And the Nationals were here in St. Louis. But he's not getting a lot of benefit of the doubt from Flo. Like, I feel like he should be. I don't know why Murin's ahead of Yaya.
Well, Flo ranked him number 2.
No, Flo's got him at 8.
Oh, is it Intermat that ranked him 2?
Yes.
Okay, Intermat. I don't know, David. I think, we had talked earlier in this, podcast that they're still going off a lot of what happened last year. So that's the only reason I can think that they're ranking them the way they are. If I was doing the rankings, I'd probably have him at 2, to be honest with you. I think he's better than
Milner.
Yeah, I do.
The last time they were in a national bracket together, he placed ahead of Milner.
Yes.
So it's going to be interesting. Obviously.
Hopefully we'll learn a lot more tonight, because if he wrestles Parco, we're going to find out what happens.
Right. Yeah. So Panero Johnson's another name to look at. And then probably the big one is Caleb Henson, right? So true freshman, huge recruit. He wrestled in that event, the Rudis event, right, Mark, that you and I were doing interviews at?
Yes.
So
tough kid. Real tough.
So look at this weight class here. Senior, sophomore, senior, 2 freshmen. So, and then a couple more seniors. Like in the top 14, I think there's 10 seniors.
David, here's my question, and I know, we talk about things. When you do rankings, you got to be consistent. And
right.
let's talk about Johnston beating Gomez at Wisconsin. And it wasn't a 1 or 2 point match. He beat him up pretty good, scored all the takedowns, looked really good doing it, has not lost. And then you got Caleb Henson, who beat Sasso, who Gomez beat at Nationals last year, beat him a couple times during the year, I have a tough time putting Johnson behind Henson. Would you agree or disagree with that comment?
Yeah, but the funny thing is, like, Intermat's got Panero Johnson one spot ahead of Henson. Flo's got it one spot the other way, and Wynn's got it two the other way. So if you look at their average, they're super close, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the argument, let me say I agree with you, but the other thing is team point wise, which matters because we're going to get there, 9 through 12 scores the same amount of points.
Correct.
And the good news is these are not the national seeds, and they won't even be the national seeds the week after the conference tournaments. I mean, they'll be close, but there's always a knuckleball in here,
Yep.
So, okay, let's go to 57. So movers and shakers here, pretty much everybody falling. Keating, Bond, Barraclaw, and Clark all dropped. So Mark, I'll wait on this. I want to talk about the team scores, but we skipped 49. Victor Voinovich and Lehigh.
Yep.
Like maybe certainly the comeback of the year so far, right?
Oh, what a match. That was one of the best college wrestling matches I've seen in a long time. You get down by 6 points right away.
Okay.
And he just, after that, the light switch went off and he turned his on and he dominated that rest of the way. And he didn't do it by big moves. He did it by takedowns, pushing them away, taking them down, pushing them away. That's a lot of takedowns in a 7-minute match he had to come back with after fighting off your back. That's hard to do.
Yeah. One other thing to point out here, Wynn's got Anthony Artolona at 49. The other two have him at 57. So I think he's at 57, which would bump, some other people up a spot or two because Artolona's on that 9 line. That would put Henson and Panero Johnson on that 9-10 line.
Yep.
So anyway, all right. So back to 57. So Teamer's out. Okay. So this weight gets super interesting, right? Like, I mean, you got a couple guys here, like, let's say, so Quincy Money's made the finals. Brayton Lee got hurt last year. Peyton Robb was in that 3 through 6 weight. So was Will Lewan. Andonian is up a weight and probably actually enjoying life now, right?
Yeah.
Austin O'Connor might be the favorite at this weight because he won nationals when he was healthy.
Yep.
Ed Scott had the complete level, probably multiple level jump from 2 years ago to last year. And then you got a bunch of these guys that are grinders in here, right? Like Franek, Humphreys. Humphreys beat G, Casto, Coleman, Artolona, Wright, JQ's. JQ's looks like he's got a lot more offense this year, Mark. Like he's a guy, I mean, I know him fairly well. He wrestled in Border Brawl. He's a Missouri kid, Tolton Catholic, 4-time small schooler. And literally he was the one that had the 1 second escape with Luan. He's that close to beating an All-American. So he can do it, and he's a guy that's got to put it together because Mizzou's got a super realistic chance of finishing on the podium this year as a team.
Agreed. But it's still to the point where we're early in the year. Everybody has that, little giddy up in their step, and once you get beat up a little bit here and there, and makes a difference. He's going to have to finish matches this year that he wasn't able to finish last year to get there.
Got to be a closer, right?
Yep.
And probably the guy lurking down here that we both like a lot is Patty Gallagher, right?
Yeah, but he's another one that, you would think, I don't know. I like the kid. I loved what he did in high school. I like the way he wrestles, but he hasn't put it all together yet. And I'm sure he, probably will by the end of the year, but he's got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
He's got a chance to move up the ladder pretty good. Let's put it that way.
Well, look, if you look at, like, the one thing about being in the Big Ten is you have plenty of opportunities to wrestle guys above you, right?
Yep.
I mean, like, he's got Saldate above him, Modal above him, Kendall Coleman above him.
And those are all winnable matches. They are.
And then you've got Will Lewan, Peyton Robb, Brayton Lee. So, I mean, he had plenty of opportunities
to break into that top 7, David. That's a tall task. Those are some pretty good kids.
So, Okay, so 165. I'll look at the movers and shakers real quick here. So Wyatt Sheets. So John Smith said Wyatt Sheets is not staying at 165.
Yep.
Okay. So he's going to go down to 157. And so who do you think ends up in the lineup for Oklahoma State at 65? And do you think that makes Oklahoma State an All-American candidate at 57? And do you think G. Feller goes down to 49? Like, how do you think that shakes out?
Vonovich. I wouldn't let him go at 49. I think he can place.
So
I love the way he wrestles, David. The kid will just go and go and go. And Gefeller, very talented, but is quitting a lot of matches over the last few years. I think I would go with the younger kid and wrestle him. But then he may be getting big brothered in the room. I don't know. What are they going to do at 65 then? Who do they even have to put in there? Is it going to be a freshman?
Could be. I mean, they got like Jordan Williams and those kind of guys, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, they got guys. I mean, I don't think this will happen. I think they'd like to get Whitlake down there.
Well, he's got a few weights to drop because he's wrestling 84 right now. So.
I think for them, if they could, they'd get Whitlake to 65 and get Kyle Haas in at 84, you know? So that was an overtime match in the wrestle off. So, but not a lot of change here at the top.
No.
Do you see Sheets as an All-American contender at 57? If you look at 57.
I think he's got a better shot at being an All-American at 57 than 65. But I would say that, 65 by far is the best weight in college wrestling right now. There's just
if you plug him in where G is at 10, then he's clearly an All-American candidate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
he's got a better shot being an All-American, and he's been an All-American at 57. So I would say he has a good chance.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, so 74. So this is the premier matchup at the All-Star meet, which is still happening, which is Karachi Lewis. So by the way, there was a couple matches that sounded like they were going to be like law firms that Keck and I were laughing about. So Edmund Ruth's probably the biggest mover this way. So he beat
Mako, didn't he?
Yeah, and fairly easily. So let me reshare this. I hit a button here and don't have it the way I want it. So here. Okay. Yeah. So Ruth moves to now this is what's goofy. So look at this. He's behind Mako.
Yeah.
Now this is what I never understood, Mark, but I think this is really a function of Wynn not catching this result. Because if you look at it, Intermat's got Ruth 10, Mako 11, Flo's got Ruth 8, Mako 9, and then Wynn's got Mako 11, Ruth 19.
Yeah.
So they just missed it, frankly.
Yep.
Because he should be 10 by their criteria.
Correct.
So then his average number moves up 3 points, which is what it should be. He should be at 9.3. He should be 1 point above Mako.
Yep.
So that'll get fixed. And sometimes that happens. And Mark, I can't say in 5 years we never missed a result. I mean, that happens. It's human error, right?
We did. We missed. I'm sure we missed plenty of results, but
I'm not going to say plenty. I'm not going to say plenty.
Okay, we missed a few. But when you're looking at over 300 matches in a weekend, it's kind of hard to get every one of them, not miss something. So,
yep. So Darian Roberts had a good weekend out there at the Journeyman. So he moves up. And again, this is a weight that feels like there's kind of a tier 1. I feel like Labriola and Plot are tier 2. And then I feel like there's a whole bunch of these dudes getting that could be on tier 3.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. So if we go to 184, not a lot of movement here on the movers and shakers page. So Another great all-star
I'm looking
match.
for that all-star meet there. Kekheisen and Brooks. That's going to be
Right.
barn burner.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So now this is a weight where at the Mizzou invite. So now see how they got Colton Hawks in here?
Yep.
So this is a huge match in the duel. Colton Hawks is at 19 and Montalvo's at 21. Okay. So, I mean, Hawks is a kid that made the under 20 world team as a backup to Jeremiah Kent. Jeremiah Kent retires / quits. Sean Harmon's a starter. At the tournament, Harmon was the 1 seed. Hawks and Whiting were the 2, 3, I think, in that order. Hawks beats Whiting at the last second, and Hawks beats Harmon on riding time. So I'm assuming Hawks is the starter. I mean, he won heads up, and It wasn't like a controversial call. It was just a really close match. And then, Montalvo's the transfer from Oklahoma State to Arizona State. And like, if you look at their rankings, like he's really in a 3-way tie for 20th. Okay.
Yep.
So, and he's like less than a half a point behind Hawks. I mean, it's a complete toss-up match, right?
Correct.
So it's a huge match tonight as we get ready for that. 97.
I really, David, go back there just for 1 second, please. You had Whitlake beat Samuelson.
Yeah.
This weekend.
Yeah.
He actually looks really good at 84. He looks like he's having a good time.
So I was at my tournament all day. Does he look big enough?
I don't know if he's big enough, but he's wrestling, and it looks like he's just enjoying. I think he was cutting too much weight, and I think he's just having fun again. And in high school he wrestled up weight. He wrestled up a little heavier, and I think he enjoys that. And I think he's doing a really good job at 184. And I know you said something about they'd like to cut him down to 65.
Oh, I'm not saying they would.
No, I'm saying it'd be nice if they did. It would give them a shot at an All-American there. I think he could be an All-American at 84. I really do.
Sure. I think what you look at is like you go, hey, if you could get your best guys in the lineup and they could all function, Whitlake 65, Plot 74, Haas 84 is probably better than whoever they have at 65, Plot at 74, and Whitlake / Haas at 84.
Yeah.
So Isaiah Salazar is another guy that's in the top 10. So that, that's a guy for, especially like when we get to these team rankings, which we'll probably spend a few minutes on here. So I can't thank Christian Thompson enough. This is like the coolest thing ever for somebody like me that just like, it's like a new toy. So, well, as somebody that had to used to do all this stuff, this was miserable. So probably the next biggest mover here is Jackson Smith, right?
Yep. So
Jackson Smith decked Bronigal, and the week after Bronigal had decked Gavin Hoffman. So, and I'm telling you, Jackson Smith looks the part. Okay. So again, not quite sure what Wynn is doing, but they don't have Louis Dupre, Jackson Smith, or Zach Bronigal ranked at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I'm not trying to be critical, but that's a problem.
Yeah.
And then they got Norfleet at 9, which is super interesting. So, and here's the other thing. Buchanan is redshirting, right?
Yes.
So
he's going to drop out. So
right.
Rocky Elam's going to wrestle in the All-Star Classic, and he's wrestling Warner.
Right.
So that would be a good match.
So, and we got to see Truax wrestle this weekend as well, and he only beat Jackson Smith by like 2 points.
Yeah.
He wasn't in a lot of trouble, but it wasn't like he kicked his tail.
Okay.
So, but like this moves, the most obvious statement you can make is this moves everybody up a slot with Buchanan out.
Yep.
But, it takes a little depth out of the weight. And this is actually a really pretty deep weight because, now if you count Buchanan for the time being, the top 9 guys plus Gavin Hoffman have all placed.
Yep.
And Tanner Sloan's made a world team.
Yep.
So, it's pretty dang good weight. So the funny thing is if Ferrari came back, he'd be the favorite.
Yep.
So, all right, 285. So the climbers are Grady Grice and Connor Doucette, and then Pelusi and Niesenbaum are the fallers here. So, but really nothing in the top 20 to kind of get too worked up about. So let's go to the team stuff. Okay. So if you look at this, here's Missouri and Arizona State. That's your number 3 and number 4 teams. Okay.
Yep.
But this is just the average. They take the average of all 3 of them and just put it in here. Okay. So, which was something you used to do for us last year, Mark. You know,
Yep.
You'd actually send them to me and I'd do the math, and reorganize them, but plug them in. So, another shout out to Christian for doing that for us. So Michigan moves up, Ohio State moves down. That's with the Mendez falling. Virginia Tech moves up. That's the Caleb Henson. Princeton falls a little bit. That's probably just more to do with, I'm not actually sure if that's right. Like, I'm going to have to talk to him about this, because if the average points are right, Princeton's actually technically ahead of Virginia Tech, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll have to get that tweaked. Nebraska is down a little bit. So, all right. So, Mark, we got a few minutes left. I guess we could talk about either. I mean, do you want to talk about the duel tonight? Do you want to talk about who would you pick? You want to do team picks next week because it's a light week and we can get Grant in there?
Sure.
All right. So let's do the duel real quick, and then we'll see where we land. Okay. So.
Okay.
So Figueroa is going at 25, not Courtney, right?
That's what I'm hearing.
So Figueroa against
Certain.
Certain. I guess we got to put a pick on it. So I'll let you go first.
I would say it's probably on paper. You would have to think Certain's probably a favorite, but I would say it's more of a pick 'em, and I would take Figueroa.
Okay. So we're going to go Arizona State. We'll just do them by matches and then add bonus later. So you got Arizona State. I'll take Certain. So it's you get 1-0. I'm 1-0 the other way. We both have McGee at 33.
Correct.
So you're 2-0. I'm 1-1. Okay. 41. I think we both have Hart.
Yep.
So I'm 2-1 Missouri. You're 2-1 Arizona State. You keep track of yours. You're 2-1 Arizona State, right?
Yes.
I'm 2-1 Missouri. 49. Here we go. Probably the match of the duel, right?
Yeah. You go.
I'll pick Arizona State because I think that's the closer way to make it 5-5. So go ahead.
I'll take Missouri.
So now we're both at 2-2.
Yes.
Okay. So true pick'ems there. Okay. So 57 is kind of an easy way to look at this. Like, let me cheat here real quick because I know Missouri's lined up by heart. So let me look at Arizona State's. So 57 is they don't have anybody ranked. So I'm going to take JQs. Okay.
Same here.
Okay. So 3-2. We both have 3-2 Missouri. We're both taking Keegan O'Toole over Negron.
Correct.
So it's 4-2.
That could be by.
Well, we'll get to bonus later. 4-2. 74 is Mako against Kyle Valencia.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna go Valencia.
Okay, so that makes it makes it 4-3 ASU.
Yep.
I'll go Mako. So 4-3, right? Or 5-2.
Yep.
Okay. I'll take Montalvo at 84.
Oh no. I'm going Missouri at 84.
You're going Hawks.
Yes.
Okay. We're both going Rocky and we're both going Schultz.
Yes.
Okay, so we both have it in Missouri.
Yes.
Okay. But
does that surprise you?
No, I don't know. I mean, Arizona State's got a path to 5 wins, right? Their path at 5 wins are 25, 33, 49, 74, 84 heavyweight. Or not heavy. Yeah.
Not 80.
That's 6 weights. They can win 6 weights.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the other way to say it is we're pretty comfortable that Missouri's going to win with Alan Hart. We're pretty comfortable they're going to win with JQs. We're really comfortable they're going to win with O'Toole. And I think we're really pretty comfortable they're going to win with Rocky Elam.
Yes.
So, and I think on the Arizona State side, you're very comfortable with McGee and you're very comfortable with Schultz. So it's sort of 4-2 with some versions of toss-ups.
And I think if you look at bonus, I think O'Toole will probably bonus, and I think McGee will probably bonus. So they may, wipe each other out, because those are kind of, those are somebody's really favored way over the other guy.
If you were doing confidence picks, those would be your most confident picks for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. So
I think Schultz would probably be number 3. Would you agree? Over Elam?
Yeah, Zach Elam's good, but Colton Schultz is really good.
Yeah.
But also Zach Elam's probably not going to get, he's certainly not going to get teched. I doubt he gets majored. It's more likely he would get pinned, like caught in something weird, than beat by a lot of points.
Agreed.
So, and I don't think that's going to happen either. I'm just saying the probability of that is probably more likely. So, okay, so we picked that. I think next week we'll do the Thanksgiving episode. I've had a really blessed year, man. So I'm excited to just talk about that. One of the blessings is this podcast and getting to talk with you every week, and Grant, and just all the things we've been able to do, and then the effort USA Wrestling has put behind us. So very, very, very thankful for that. So GT, safe travels, enjoy NYAC, enjoy Bill Farrell. Marco, are you going to the Grandview duel, the Iowa State Grandview duel?
I'll probably be working this weekend, David. I'm pretty much out of vacation days and PL days, so I'll probably be doing a lot of working over the holidays. So we'll see what happens.
Your boy will be on the Life U Open on the mic for the semis and finals. So if you get bored Saturday afternoon, hit me up, okay?
All right, sounds good.
All right, for GT, Mark, I'm David. Thank you guys for watching and listening. Speak to y'all next week.